Was Guerin's talk of, quote, sacrifice for the betterment of the team a direct message to the egos and fractured culture of the locker room?
I mean, I think that he would have said that if he was going into any situation, but it absolutely was. I mean, that's what we just talked about. It's a small hockey world. Bill Guerin is well aware of the perception out there about the Minnesota Wild right now. People talk. It's the talk of the league. And I think that he absolutely is talking about going in there. And it's again, you're calling them egos, however you want to say it. He believes that this locker room has started to pull in different directions, and he's going to try to go in there and get them back on thinking about the task at hand and what to do to be a successful hockey team.
So let's go to Kyle Miller, with the GMs usually liking to bring in their guys. Who are some possible front office or coaching hires, and does Bruce Boudreau have a legitimate chance of getting extended by Guerin?
Well, I don't know about extended. I think like Mikko Koivu being in the last year of his deal, I think Bill Guerin's going to want to get to know Bruce and watch him and then decide. I mean, they don't know each other. Billy obviously has played against Bruce Boudreau teams, knows how the way Bruce Boudreau teams play. But he's got to learn them, and there's a lot to do. A perfect example is last night. I think that one thing that's going to want to happen is that Bruce and Billy Guerin are going to have to get together and kind of learn each other. Last night, I could tell you that they were planning on getting together and just didn't work out, and so it's going to have to happen at some point here. What was the other part of that question? Was there another part?
Let me go back. He's basically asking if you see Guerin bringing in any of his own people to the front office.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think he's in any rush. I know he's not. He wants to get to know everybody in the front office. Tom Curvers will be the assistant GM for the time being. Chris O'Hearn will continue to be director of hockey operations. I do think that even before Bill Guerin came on, that Chris O'Hearn's role is changing a little bit. Billy Guerin actually does negotiate contracts. I talked to him about that today. So I think any big contract for this team, Billy's going to be the one that's going to want to negotiate those deals and sign it up. But he's got a ton of friends. I mean, that's the one thing. I was just with him. He had 409 text messages since in the last day and a half. I know he's only gotten back to 100 of them. And so, a lot of those people that are old friends, teammates, whatever, are going to want jobs here. The one guy I have thrown out there for a while is Doug Waite. Doug is getting paid by the Islanders, but he doesn't do anything for the Islanders. I think he'd like to get back into hockey operations. I think at some point here, Billy Guerin would probably look at him. But he's friends with so many people. I mean, Keith Tkachuk and Matt Cook and Matt Cullen, and there's just a ton of people out there that he's friends with, and obviously he can't hire them all. I mean, there's jobs at a premium. There are people in place in most of those jobs in the organization, and eventually I think that he's going to want to kind of make a staff that he's going to feel comfortable with and collaborate with.
From Kyle, is it worrisome that Rutherford talked up Guerin so much, almost like how Nashville pushed Fenton onto the Wild?
No, I don't think it is at all.
Johnson from Wisconsin, I know you don't like
very, very big difference there, and you could figure that out yourself.
Yep. Johnson from Wisconsin. I know you don't like to throw things against the wall, but heaven forbid they let Bruce go. Who would be some familiar candidates for head coach?
Yeah, I don't want to throw that. They're not getting rid of him in the short term at all. So
right. From Joe Orr, what is Guerin's relationship with here's the question: what is Guerin's relationship like with sometimes energetic beat writers?
So far good.
From Skylar Vicious, should the league perform more tests on players after finding out about Kuznetsov? Will the league just brush this situation to the side? Obviously, we're talking about cocaine use in the NHL.
Yeah. There's not much the league can do. I mean, they have, and it's like a lot of sports. I mean, it's a joke. The only thing you test for technically is performance-enhancing drugs. But in these tests, they could tell if somebody is abusing illegal drugs. And then if that happens, it's not something that they can discipline them about, but they can go to them and say, look, we know you have this in your system. Here's some opportunities to go get some help. But I do think that it's a red flag of a problem that exists potentially in the league. I can't imagine that Kuznetsov is the only one that's tested positive for cocaine, but there's not they can't they're not allowed to just go and, to Skylar's question, perform, quote, more tests. And even in the tests that they do perform for performance enhancing drugs, if these people are found to have illegal drugs in their system, that's not something that they could just go out and suspend them for or discipline them for. What I don't like is it did seem like in May, when the video came out of him in the hotel room with cocaine on the table, the league did seem to just brush it aside and say, well, he says that he left right away. It's like, that's like, did you inhale? I mean, it was just absurd the way that they just sort of brushed it aside like it was no big deal. And that, to me, it was an area where they absolutely could have disciplined him. There's not you don't have to. If you're seen on video, there are codes of conduct in all jobs, and if you're seen on video with a girl sleeping in bed and cocaine on the table, that's a red flag for the league of making these players are representing the NHL. They're supposed to be role models to kids. That, to me, is an area where the league should have gotten more involved right there. But that one they seem to brush aside. In terms of him testing positive for cocaine and being suspended by the International Ice Hockey Federation for 4 years, the league does not have the ability to go and discipline him like that right now. From their standpoint, because the rules just don't exist to suspend guys for illegal drugs. Now, if he was arrested for having illegal drugs or something, God forbid, worse happens, then the league can get involved from that standpoint. But, it's a long story short, with Skylar's question, the league does not have the ability to just perform, quote, more tests. And even, again, if you're testing and you test positive for illegal drugs, if it's not the performance enhancing type, the league can't get involved.
We do an hour-long show when we do live shows at Tin Shed and Savage. The next show is Thursday night at 7 o'clock. Come on out, and we're going to save a lot of our discussion and a lot of these questions for that. A couple more questions in this show. Once again, thanks to Twill and the Edina Galleria, Fixologyrepair.com, Tony Hoaglund, Bite Squad, bitesquad.com, and Tin Shed in Savage. From Zeke Boyett, do you think Guerin and the staff should be worried about a Gaborik-like situation with Spurgeon if he gets hurt in season and they're unable to trade him if they can't extend him?
Well, I mean, by the way, I can't believe I'm going to be the one to volunteer this because you know how much I love talking to him about the guy. But Kaprizov, I did ask Guerin about that, and his day one duty, he actually called Dan Milstein up and arranged to set up and go to Russia. I don't know if I brought that up on the show before yet here. In terms of what Zeke is asking on Gaborik, I mean, the thing with Spurge is like any player that's in the last year of the deal, there's a risk, okay? And the reality is that you just cannot extend every single player that's entering the last year of their deal before. So, yeah, if God forbid Spurgeon has a devastating injury and it winds up costing him and costing them assets, you're in trouble. But I don't think that coming into the year that you could just say, all right, just worry that Spurgeon's going to have some sort of major injury and saying, oh my God, we got to sign him now or trade him right away. If come trade deadline, they're not even close to an extension, I think that Spurgeon's absolutely trade bait. But I don't think that you can just, from a GM standpoint, say, all right, just because in 2009 or 2008-9 season, Gaborik suffered a hip injury, wound up having surgery, and essentially wound up costing them, him eventually, and they got rid of him for nothing, or they lost him for nothing. That you could just say, all right, we got to trade Spurgeon now. I think that's basically what Zeke is asking. That's just the risk that happens when you're dealing with a major, talented player in the last year of his contract. If he gets hurt, If he gets hurt, it's kind of like such his life.
Two more Twitter questions. Thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. From Mike Gooding, what are Guerin's thoughts on draft picks? Does he like to keep them like Fenton or trade them like Fletcher?
Well, first of all, it's not like, trust me, Fletcher doesn't love trading away draft picks. It was just he was given a mandate from the owner. We want to win now, and if you want to win now, you're not trading your core players or young players on your team. Your only other currency are prospects or picks. That's That's just the way that the path that they were on. I mean, I can tell you that I've known Chuck Fletcher for 20-something years. He looks at draft picks as being very valuable pieces. The reason why he's continued this path in Philly, by the way, is because Ron Hextall has left him with an immense amount of prospects. I mean, their prospect pool is outstanding. So it makes total sense to trade draft picks right now because your prospects are sitting there and being close to being NHL talent right away. In terms of Guerin, though, to answer your question, what's really funny is, so I did this Q&A today, and right when I was about to ask Mike Gooding's question, that's when his family joined us. So I can't give you an honest answer on what he says. All I can tell you, though, is that he is, I mean, just from a common sense standpoint, I think he wants to continue to build the prospect pool of his team. And so that right away means that he's not going to want to trade first and second round picks. But, the one thing that I got to say that you got to give Paul Fenton credit for the last couple of years is that he didn't trade his draft picks. So right away, you have a lot of more bullets in the chamber, and you got to hope that a lot of these guys adding, as roughly 16 or 17 new young kids to this organization that 4 or 5 of them are going to hit. So we'll see.
Last Twitter question. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks to everyone who listens to TalkNorth.com. Check out all the shows. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app. See you Thursday night at Tin Shed. From North Stars fan for life, is there any chance Guerin boosts the scouting and analytics departments during the year?
Yeah, I think so. I think the one reason why he's really excited, he told me to get to Traverse City, is he wants to meet the scouts, the amateur scouts that are responsible for meeting these, for drafting these kids. I think he's got the ability to go and add to the scouting staff. I know that he absolutely believes wholeheartedly in analytics and in providing more information and the decisions that he makes. The Wild did hire Matt Sells. I do think that he still plans on coming to work for this organization, even though the timing of his hiring has never been announced, and it came right around Paul getting fired. So we'll see if anything changes there. But I think that he wants to continue to grow that. Unfortunately, the Wild lost 2 very talented, young, smart people in the business, and so Billy's going to have to probably build up that organization. I can tell you, respected and believed wholeheartedly in. And Ray Shero has built the New Jersey Devils from an analytics standpoint to have some of the most talented people in the game working for them. And Ray Shero is the one that gave Billy Guerin his start. So I believe that Billy Guerin is going to want to improve that part of the organization.
Good stuff, Michael. Thank you. I'll see you Thursday night at Tin Shed. Thanks again to everybody who listens, everybody who sponsors, everybody who sends in Twitter questions. Let's go out and have some fun and Savage on Thursday night.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive